Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the lives of history's most fascinating military figures. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore the life of Robert E. Lee, one of the most iconic and complex commanders in American history. From his early days as a young officer to his eventual rise as the commander of the Confederate Army, Lee's story is one of drama, tragedy, and ultimately, transformation. Born on January 19, 1807, at Stratford Hall Plantation in Westmoreland County, Virginia, Robert Edward Lee was the fifth of six children to Henry Lighthorse Harry, Lee III, and Anne Hill Carter Lee. His father, a renowned cavalry officer and governor of Virginia, was a hero of the American Revolutionary War, and his mother came from a wealthy and influential family. The Lees were part of the Virginia aristocracy, with a long history of military service, politics, and plantation ownership. As a young boy, Robert E. Lee spent his childhood at Stratford Hall, surrounded by the rolling hills, forests, and waterways of the Virginia countryside. He was deeply influenced by his father's stories of military valor and adventure, which sparked his own interest in a military career. The family's financial difficulties, however, would soon impact their lives. In 1812, when Robert E. Lee was just 5 years old, his family moved to Alexandria, Virginia, where his father had been appointed as the commander of the local militia. The move to Alexandria marked a significant turning point in Lee's life, as he began to develop a sense of discipline and responsibility that would serve him well in his future career. He attended local schools in Alexandria, where he excelled academically and developed a strong interest in mathematics and science. His teachers noted his exceptional abilities, particularly in geometry and trigonometry, which would later serve him well in his military engineering endeavors. In 1818, Henry Lee's financial difficulties came to a head, and he was forced to sell Stratford Hall to pay off his debts. The family situation became increasingly precarious, with Robert E. Lee's father eventually fleeing to the West Indies to escape creditors. Despite these challenges, Robert E. Lee's education continued uninterrupted, thanks in part to the support of his mother's family. In 1825, at the age of 18, Lee received an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point, where he would go on to graduate second in his class in 1829. The years at West Point were formative for Robert E. Lee, as he developed a strong sense of duty and discipline that would define his military career. He was deeply influenced by the Academy's emphasis on honor, loyalty, and service, which would become the guiding principles of his life. As we explore the early life of Robert E. Lee, we see a young man who is deeply rooted in his family's history and traditions, yet also driven by a sense of duty and ambition that will take him to the heights of military leadership. The historical context of his early years, marked by the aftermath of the War of 1812 and the growing tensions over slavery, would shape his future path and inform his decisions as a commander. Lee, one of the most iconic and complex commanders in American history. Lee's military career began in 1829, when he graduated second in his class from West Point and was commissioned as a brevet second lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers. He quickly distinguished himself as a talented and dedicated officer, serving in various engineering roles throughout the United States. In 1832, Lee married Mary Anna Randolph Custis, a great-granddaughter of Martha Washington, and the couple had 7 children together. During the Mexican-American War, Lee served as a staff officer under General Winfield Scott, where he played a crucial role in the siege of Veracruz and the Battle of Chapultepec. His bravery and tactical genius earned him 3 brevet promotions, and he returned to the United States as a hero. In 1852, Lee became the superintendent of West Point, where he implemented several reforms and improved the Academy's curriculum. In 1855, Lee was appointed as the lieutenant colonel of the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, which was stationed in Texas. He served on the frontier, dealing with Native American raids and border disputes, before being recalled to Washington in 1860. As tensions between the North and South escalated, Lee was faced with a difficult decision, whether to remain loyal to the United States or join the Confederate cause. In April 1861, after Virginia seceded from the Union, Lee resigned his commission in the United States Army and joined the Confederate forces. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a general in June 1861, and played a key role in several important battles, including the 7 Days Battles and the Second Battle of Manassas. Lee's leadership and strategic thinking were instrumental in the Confederate victories at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, where he outmaneuvered Union forces led by General Joseph Hooker. However, his invasion of the North ended in defeat at Gettysburg, a turning point in the war that would ultimately lead to the Confederacy's downfall. Despite the challenges and setbacks, Lee remained a formidable commander, earning the respect of his troops and the admiration of his enemies. His commitment to duty, honor, and loyalty drove him to continue fighting, even as the Confederacy's prospects grew increasingly bleak. Lee's remarkable achievements as a soldier and commander, we see a complex figure driven by a sense of duty, loyalty, and honor. His military career was marked by both triumph and tragedy, and his legacy continues to be debated by historians today. Lee, from the final days of the Civil War to his eventual passing in 1870. Lee, one of the most iconic and complex commanders in American history. Lee, from the final days of the Civil War to his eventual passing in 1870. As the war drew to a close, Lee faced the daunting task of surrendering his army to Union forces. On April 9, 1865, he met with General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, where he formally surrendered the Army of Northern Virginia. This marked the effective end of the Confederacy, and Lee's decision to surrender helped to prevent further bloodshed and paved the way for reconciliation. In the aftermath of the war, Lee was hailed as a hero by many in the South. Despite his defeat, he was offered several opportunities to flee the country or continue fighting, but he chose instead to remain in the United States and work towards rebuilding and reconciliation. In 1865, he became the president of Washington College, a small liberal arts college in Lexington, Virginia, where he served until his death in 1870. During his time at Washington College, Lee worked tirelessly to promote education and rebuild the South. He expanded the college's curriculum, increased enrollment, and oversaw the construction of new buildings. He also became a vocal advocate for reconciliation, urging Southerners to put aside their differences with the North and work towards a united future. Lee's commitment to reconciliation was not without controversy, however. Many in the South saw him as a traitor for surrendering at Appomattox, while others in the North viewed him as a symbol of the Confederacy and a reminder of the war's bitter legacy. Despite these challenges, Lee remained committed to his vision of a unified America, and he worked tirelessly to promote understanding and forgiveness. In his personal life, Lee faced significant challenges during this period. His wife, Mary Anna, suffered from poor health, and the couple's financial situation was precarious. Nevertheless, Lee remained devoted to his family and continued to provide for them despite the difficulties they faced. On October 12, 1870, Robert E. Lee passed away at his home in Lexington, Virginia, after a long illness. His death was mourned by people across the United States, and he was remembered as a hero, a patriot, and a symbol of the American spirit. Today, Lee's legacy continues to be debated by historians and scholars, but his commitment to duty, honor, and loyalty remains an inspiration to people around the world. His story serves as a reminder of the power of forgiveness, reconciliation, and the human spirit, and it continues to resonate with us today. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.